Okay, well, this is proving to be interesting. So this motor has done 54,000 miles. So this is a 2019 Zoe. This is an R110. It sounded quite bad, but I've rebuilt quite a few of these motors. And I thought, yeah, 54,000, that's not going to be too bad, is it? So I've popped the rotor off. Interestingly, the bearing actually stayed inside the end cap of the motor. And that's probably because, if you look at the outside, if that focuses, there we go, it's really badly pitted and corroded. Whether that is sort of a symptom of the electrical discharge, it's really hard to tell, because you get that, let's get some light on there, we go, you get that rust and that scoring, and yeah, they do seem like they kind of weld themselves together. But yeah, so that was in there, so now I pushed that out, so okay, that's out. I'm hoping there's not too much damage on this case. It's always a bit scored, but yeah, we can clean that up, should be okay. So now for getting this rotor out, so using the bearing sort of bearing press or gear press, whatever you want to call it, I was putting a lot of pressure through it and it's just not moving, and actually the puller or gear puller, whatever you want to call them, it just came off because it took a chunk out of the case, well, a little notch. So yeah, this motor is really strange because it's so low mileage but yet very sort of difficult to take apart. So at the other end there was a little bit of sort of a coating on the inside of the motor, which may be evidence of smoke damage. So maybe this has just got really hot from the bearings locking up. So I've tried pushing this out. I would normally push this out and leave the that bearing in place, but I've basically removed the clip on that bearing, and I'm now going to try and push it out, and then if it's easier for this bearing to come out on the shaft, then it can do so. But yeah, I have a pretty good success rate on rebuilding motors, and 54,000 really should be doable. But yeah, maybe I've met my match. You can't be beaten on a 54,000 mile motor, can we? Seems a bit mad. I'm going to show you this. Well, I'm going to let you listen to the other bearing. I just need to put the phone, I'm just going to rest the phone on the motor. There we go. Right, so this is the one from the end cap from the other end. Hopefully you can hear that. Yeah, really gravelly, really notchy, quite bad inside. I'm tempted to cut that one open because it's done so few miles. It really shouldn't be that bad. It is normally that one that seems to suffer. It'd be interesting to see what this one's like. You can't spin it while the other side is out. So yeah, I'm going to press on, but am I going to be beaten? This is the question. There really is a limit to how much pressure you can put on the motor, because you don't want to damage it. Because it spins really fast and it needs to be a good job when it goes back together. So I'll continue. I've got to be careful, but we'll have to put some more pressure on the end of that rotor. I mean, you can't sort of hit this or anything because it will just damage it. So I use the press, that sort of continuous pressure. Right, I'm going to crack on and I'll catch you in a bit. Right, wish me luck. Cheers. Right, we've got it out. Crumbs. That put up a fight. So I used my little heater just to kind of warm up the case of the motor, and that helped a bit. And it's just kind of slowly catchy monkey, really. But let's have a look at this bearing. Spin that around. Right, you can see the marking on the outside of here. Yeah, you get a kind of rust, but then you get those bits where it's sort of, put the light up there, where it's kind of pitted. Yeah, wow, and that's quite bad, isn't it? So, yeah, fun and games. So this one, I wanted to know what this sounded like. It's not that bad, actually. Yeah, you probably can't hear it. They always have quite a lot of resistance, these bearings, original Renault bearings, which is quite surprising considering the speed they spin. But I'm always surprised that they have rubber seals as well, because if you look at bearings, rubber sealed ones are not the highest speed rating, and these spin up to about 11,000 RPM, these motors. So yeah, but that one's okay. It's definitely the other one that suffered more, but you can see corrosion on there. There's a little bit of scoring on the case as well, which I've got to clean up, but at least that's out. I'm going to take that off, and then we'll see, well, if that comes off okay, because that's really the one that didn't want to come off. And then, yeah, see what it looks like between these two surfaces, because we need this all to be perfectly clean for everything to kind of align properly, and then clean up the case and get that all back together. So, right, we'll get that off, but at least we're getting somewhere. All right, let's do it. Okay, wowzers, the bearing is out. So this one is not normally anywhere near this difficult to get out. But yeah, I had to take it out, the rotor out with the bearing still on it, and then pull the bearing off. So I was using my gear puller or bearing puller, had that over the shaft. I actually had a strap around these claws to make sure they're not going to pop off. I braced, and then you're using the socket or whatever you use, gun, to turn the bearing puller. Then the whole thing wants to rotate. So I had the spanner between the claws to brace it against the floor, and just put basically as much pressure as I can on it. I'm thinking, I really don't want to damage this. That's one of the risks. And it just didn't move. So I thought, right, okay. I mean, you can put your gun on the end of here, but you just don't want to damage it. So in the end, got the heat gun, just put that just on the bearing with the kind of shield on. So you're just putting it against the bearing. Obviously that on there. Heat gun against like this on a couple of sides, and then it went bang. One of those moments where you like your heart kind of skips. And yeah, it wasn't the bearing puller flying off, fortunately. It was this just moved a fraction, and then from there on it, yeah, I could move it. Crumbs. So you can see the surface here. Hold on, I have to keep this still and then it'll focus. Yeah, let's get the light on. You can see there's sort of a bit of rust on there, and you can see it's kind of in a ring as well. You put spray oil on, so this is the surface it's on. I put a bit of spray oil on, but it doesn't penetrate, not unless you leave it for ages, and it probably still wouldn't. Having taken this off, this is now all oily. It must have been that way because those lines are on the inside. So yeah, there's no sort of scoring, just a bit of kind of rust. So yeah, I guess they just kind of hardened together with the heat. I don't know. Kind of strange. You can see inside here. So like if we look over there, it looks like there's been a bit of smoke or something, because you can wipe that off. I'll just wipe my finger just naturally, but yeah, you can see that little yeah, a little bit of something in there, like there's been a bit of heat, smoke, something like that. Wow, fun and games on a 54,000. So yeah, okay, we've not damaged it. It's really easy to damage these. So okay, we can see inside the rotor here. Yeah, so that's looking okay. They always kind of look like that because it's bare metal, with a bit of surface rust. But right, so I can clean everything up, get the new bearings on. The whole motor, all the mating surfaces have to be cleaned. So I've covered up the slip rings here, and we've got to cover those up just because as you're taking the cover off and things, you don't want to score any of this. So put protective tape on there. All this has got to be cleaned up. So this is where the other bearing was. You can see on there, you can see those lines on it, and that's kind of rusty as well. Yeah, so fun and games. You have to be careful not to damage all of these tabs as well, and not damage the stator as you pull the rotor out, because this is about 20 kilos probably, so quite heavy. Right, so but yeah, I can crack on now, clean all of this up, get the new bearings on. I usually heat up the bearings a little bit just to help those go on. It's quite cold ambient temperature, which makes that slightly easier. So cold rotor and warmer bearings. But thank goodness, I was thinking 54,000 miles was going to beat me, and I've done over 100,000 miles the last like 3 cars. But okay, cool. Right, now I can crack on. I think I might need a cup of tea first though. All right, cool. Catch you later. I'll let you know how it goes. Well, hoorah, we've got some bearings on. So cleaned up all the surfaces. I heat these up, and then they go on a lot easier. And yeah, that's the one with the circlip. So yeah, sort of circlip there that holds it in place. So I've got to remove that in a minute. But yeah, these are all cleaned up, and it's going a lot better now. I thought this was really gonna beat me. I need to really clean up all these mating surfaces. That has to be all very well cleaned, because when you put the motor back together, everything has to be perfectly lined up, because they spin up to about 11,000 RPM these. So it has to be done right, otherwise it's basically just not going to work properly. And I've kind of done a few of these, so yeah, it's really a case of getting all this aluminium corrosion off. There's always a fair amount of it, but yeah, if it you know, there's a little bit of grit or dirt in there or something, then that's going to stop it from going back on correctly. But thank goodness we are winning. This one will live to fight another day. It's always a bit of fun and games, this, because you don't know for certain until you get the car on the road and do some speed what it's going to be like. And, you know, really do a few miles and then see. Fortunately, just doing them as best you can seems to yield pretty good results. So you can kind of tell when these are on. So the inner race of these pushes up against that wider shaft there. So yeah, it's pretty easy to tell whether these are fully seated in place. But yeah, just in terms of long-term reliability is what I'm concerned about. So if you have to put too much force into getting them apart, then it gets a bit more unlikely that you're going to want to put them back together again. But I think this one is okay. And from ones I've done before, actually, generally the motor seems okay. The brushes were really surprising, actually. I was saying to the owner, you know, it's on 54,000, so we should be able to reuse the brushes. I put this plastic on there just to get them out. But yeah, so when they're new, they go up to about where this difference in height is here. So where you can kind of see that line just over halfway, about 2/3 of the way up there. So that's a lot of wear, especially on this back one. That's not just sitting in there. Yeah, that is quite a bit of wear, to be honest. So I was hoping that these were going to go back, but really we should keep these. I mean, when it's in use, it's kind of about there. So there is a fair amount of material, but I might have to have a chat to the owner, really, and just see what we're going to do about that. But yeah, that's more than I would expect, to be honest. I guess maybe there's a bit of variance in the springs and how much that pushes. But yeah, given how hard that motor was to take apart, yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Okay, so yeah, there we are. Maybe it's a sort of usage characteristics, but yeah, I think this motor will live to fight another day, and it looks like I'm not going to be beaten. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will catch you later. Cheers. Okay, I think we're getting there. So we've got everything cleaned up. Got the rotor back in, and there's a snap ring on there that's on. The snap rings on these new bearings haven't got like tabs or anywhere to hold the circuit pliers, so they're kind of tricky. But yes, I can't currently find any replacements. So yeah, I've got quite good at putting those on. But yeah, this is all cleaned up, back in. So you have to clean up all the surfaces. So all these mating surfaces have to be absolutely clear. And there's always a bit of corrosion on there, so that everything goes back perfectly. I basically clean all the surfaces and then hoover the motor. So I'll hoover all in here and everything, hoover all inside. That's what's going to go back on the cap. And then use an air blower as well to just get everything out. So yeah, we got the bearing on here as well. I'm going to put the end cap on. I just need to just warm it up a little bit just to make it easier, basically, just so it will slide over this bearing easier. But yeah, I will get that back on and then we'll give it a spin. All right, cool. Okay, so it's all cleaned up. Cap is back on. That actually went on really easily, and having warmed it up a little bit, I actually could just push it by hand. When it's bang on straight, you can just literally just push it with your hand, and it went about halfway over the bearing. And at that point, the bearing, the temperature of the bearing probably cooled down the case, and it just grabbed it a little bit more. And then yeah, you have to use some tools at that point. But that's nice to see. It just goes on really freely. So let's give it a spin. I'll see the proof of the pudding and all that. So I just steady that with my foot, and the strap's not moving. Okay, take 2. Let's give this a spin. All right. So yeah, just all normal noises, basically. Sounds pretty good. Needs more hoovering now, actually. Yeah. Fantastic. We have done it. Well, that was a bit of a roller coaster. I was a little bit concerned we were going to get beaten by a 54,000 mile motor there, but yeah, I think each time you do these, you do a few and they all go fine, and then occasionally you just have a little bit of a slightly different problem. and you just, I think, learn each time, just kind of as you do it, and just kind of develop the way to do it. I may do this one sort of the sort of different way in future, in terms of whether you want the bearing to stay in or come out. I normally try and leave it in there, but it was so stuck onto the rotor that I took it out with the rotor, and I may do that from now on. But yeah, I'm going to clean that up. So obviously got the rotor position sensor that needs to go back on here, and at this end it's got the brushes and brush box. But yeah, we are there. Hoorah! All right, well, I will catch you later. Cheers.